But first up, he's the champion jockey once again.
Brian Hughes unlucky yesterday in the winners' enclosure today.
Cloudy Dream draws away to win the future champion novices chase.
Forest Beard for Brian Hughes and Brian Ellison, who wins the Bonnie's Garden Old Road.
Condor Caitlin for Ruth Jefferson under Brian Hughes wins the feature.
Lake Newland has won the many clouds.
Bareback Jack in front, leading by 2 or 3 lengths and win.
Minella Drama wins the Patrick Coy Memorial Outcar.
It is Dreams of Home. He's made it. 200 for Brian Hughes.
How are you feeling this morning?
Tired, Nick, if I'm being honest.
Has it been the most demanding season on you so far?
Yeah, it probably has, to be fair. Mentally as well as physically, I'd say.
But you feel centred. You feel strong mentally.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's probably with years of experience and dealing with things. Yeah, you definitely feel more centred now. Yeah.
And is there more of a depth of satisfaction to winning the championship because you've won it back, having not let it go, but you didn't win it last year? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was just more fire in my belly than ever before. Just to, no one likes losing at anything. And when I got beat last year, as I said, it wasn't because Harry beat me. It was just that I got beaten. So I had, I wanted to win it back.
And I sort of hadn't really given as much credit to that as I should have done until I spoke to you earlier in the week and realised how much that had kind of itched you last year. Were you sort of thinking, oh my God, was I a one-hit wonder? Was that it? One and out?
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to be known as that. Obviously, when one of the first time the season stopped early and I was obviously in front of Dickie in winners, and then, I wanted to prove that I could see it to the end of the season, and then obviously last year was hugely frustrating. So, I wanted to make sure that it didn't happen again.
OK, so how have you made it all work? How have you got to this position where you've got this stranglehold on the Jockeys Championship and just everything is working so well and efficiently for you?
Well, I suppose, obviously, firstly, Donald's horses were running brilliant and like his owners have all reinvested. So we just, wanted to make the most of every opportunity I got. And I've never turned down any horse that had a glimmer of a hope of winning the race. I wanted to be riding it.
I'm fascinated by the relationship between you and Donald McCain. He's an intense, interesting, complicated, talented man, and you and he seem to have gelled very well. Why do you think that is?
See, I don't see all that from Donald. I just see the man. But yeah, look, I obviously know what he wants, and he knows how I ride. So we've sort of had to, over the years, sort of give and take a little bit. But the reality is, we both want the same thing. We want winners. So it works well because I know if I'm riding a horse, regardless of what he said, how to ride it, if it's not working, I can change stuff, and I know that he'll stand behind me, as most of my trainers do, to be fair, because you're doing it with the best intentions to ride the winner of the race.
Because you are generally known as a quiet rider, quite a patient rider, and that can sometimes incur people's wrath, can't it, if they think you've left one too late or you haven't really given it the maximum. It hasn't really looked to the eye as though you've really mucked it out. But I guess one of your strengths is that you've never wavered from your belief in that style of doing things.
No, I think that's who I am, really. It's just how, like, going back to when I was starting out with Kevin Prendergast, that stuff, when you learn, it's instilled in you from a young age, and that's your style of riding. And I can only ride like me. I can't ride like A.P. McCoy or Richard Johnson. So, I've just stuck to that,
Have you ever tried to change your game a bit or not?
I remember when I first came to Howard Johnson's, and obviously been watched AP and Richard Dunwoody and Tony Dobbin, or the Northern Ireland jockeys that sort of you'd always look up to.
It's a decent group from a pretty small country, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I remember one morning on the schooling ground in Howard's, I would be giving Graham Lee and Alan Dempsey a lead over fences on an old horse, and I remember Howard ringing my agent and says, "Don't get that lad up any rides over fences because he'll kill himself." Because I was just sending these things down to the fence, and the horses would respond, and they'd be standing up outside the wings and really attacking the jumps, because that's I soon realised that wasn't my riding style, and I had to just calm it all down a bit.
So you were sort of trying to do a Dunwoody or a McCoy,
well, you'd
but it
look
wasn't
at
quite
AP
working.
and stuff, and Dickie and the lads, and they'd be very, but yeah, I soon realised I couldn't do that.
Did you watch them and wonder how they did do what they did in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of when you're getting into this sport as a young jockey, you watch all the good jockeys that the older lads, and you just think, well, how can I sort of shoehorn that into my style? And I like what they do, I like what he does, and just sort of take bits from everybody, really.
But I suppose what unifies, and we're going to talk to Dave Roberts in a little while, but I suppose what unifies you and Johnson and McCoy is just that focus on the pursuit of winners. When did that really kick in for you?
I've always had it, really. Ever since you ride your first winner, you get that feeling, and it's just there's no feeling like it. And it's like anything else. The more winners you have, the more you want. You get greedier and greedier, and it's just And then obviously when you're in this position, you just don't want to be not in this position. You want to be champion jockey. And I had an interesting chat with AP yesterday, and it's just he said, you torture yourself because you want to be there, and you love to have that torture because it's hunger. You want, you just want to be the best you can be.
I mean, but he almost made a virtue of that, and has talked quite openly about it being an almost masochistic pursuit. I don't see you quite in that bracket, or are you? Or do you really put yourself through that much mental strain and anguish?
I suppose I'm a bit more reserved than that, but I would, I'd torture myself, but like within rather, if I've left a winner behind, or if I feel I've left a winner behind, that's worse than any trainer giving off to me or whatever. If I know I've left one behind, that hurts more than anything.
Okay, can you close the door when you get home and forget about it?
I can now. Years ago, when I was a lot younger, you'd struggle with it for days, but I suppose since getting married and having the kids and stuff, they put a bit more perspective in your life. So yeah, I can deal with it a lot better now.
So you can compartmentalise a little bit more.
Absolutely, yeah.
But actually, it's probably all still going on in.
Yeah, it's still
in your
irk.
head.
It'll still irk you a couple of, if I've left that one behind, or that could have gone better. Or, yeah.
You mentioned starting out with Kevin Prendergast. This is something we've talked about in interviews a little bit before, and the sort of grounding that gave you, and the extent to which it made you the man and the jockey you are today. How big a part do you think that played?
Massively, really, because obviously when you're a young kid getting into racing, or coming out of the racing centres or whatever, you think you know it all, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tough school, but it put manners on us in the right way. It gave us, we worked hard, but we got rewarded with rides, and we were nurtured along. And as I say, it was a good school for young jockeys to go to, because I feel it's definitely put me on the right path. You weren't going to get anywhere without working hard. We had to work hard, but again, we were rewarded for it. And I look back now, and at the time I thought, oh, this is torture, but look back now, and it wasn't. I didn't actually realise how good a trainer he actually was, and what he was doing for us.
But did you feel, now looking back on it, that he was thinking about developing your career, that it was an apprenticeship in the truest sense of the word?
Absolutely, yeah, and developing me as a person as well. It is. When you're young, you don't see that sort of side of things. You're just thinking, no, he's being hard on me and this and that. But no, looking back, he definitely he was moulding me for life as well as a jockey.
When you moved to the UK, was there an obvious place for you to go, or were you coming here more in hope than expectation?
No, obviously I'm very good friends with the Orion family. Obviously Kevin and but Bobby and Sheila and Kevin and Aidan, and obviously I used to ride out on a lunchtime after Kevin's for Bobby with all the yearlings and stuff, and Kevin was my agent, and he somehow managed to get me on a winning ride for Jim Bulger one weekend. And
do you believe that's his finest achievement?
It must be. And Howard happened to see it and was chatting to Bobby about something, and he said, "Oh, that lad rode away all your yearlings from last year," and that was the link. And then so when I was it got too much for the weight to do the weight on the flat, I had the job at Howard's instantaneously, really, through Bobby.
How was Howard Johnson to ride for?
It was different. Not so much to ride for, but a culture shock, really. I'd only known what Kevin Prendergast does, and the routine he had with his horses, to go to Howard's, and it was a little bit different, yeah. I
mean, he's quite a character.
Absolutely.
And how was it as a stable jockey, in terms of the sort of, you talk about your relationship with Donald. You were much younger then, completely different character, and there's this sort of kind of very able but slightly kind of manic firebrand of a figure training the horses.
Yeah, again, it was different, but again, I went as conditional. Graham Lee was the stable jockey, and you sort of realised then there was more than one way to train horses, really, and there's no, one, who's to say one's more correct than the other, but it was good. I mean, you were getting to sit on horses, like at the time there was like horses coming like fourth in a derby, placed in an arc, placed in a St. Leger to go jumping. They were like getting out of one Ferrari into the next one. I mean, they're just different species to what, now, because look, now them horses are being shipped to Australia or Hong Kong, but like, Mrs. Wiley was buying these horses to go jumping, and they were like, I think the first few weeks of me being there, he rode these 3 horses, first, second and third lot, and I think the 3 of them cost £1 million, to go jumping. Yeah. And that was the culture.
Was then.
Yeah, because obviously Kevin Prendergast would have bought horse on a smaller scale, but yeah, so it was definitely it was a big eye opener, and I mean the talent they had at the time was phenomenal.
Yeah, I bet it was. And then obviously Howard didn't have his licence anymore, and things developed. But you've always found interesting places and interesting slots to move into. The late Malcolm Jefferson was a man that you enjoyed a huge amount of success for. I mean, you couldn't find two more different characters.
Absolutely, but yeah, I've been lucky, Nick, that at every time one door is sort of closed, another one's opened, and as you say, like different slots everywhere, different people. And like when I started riding for Malcolm, I mean, we ended up getting some nice horses, graded horses, and that was the next step for me, really. You were obviously riding winners, and then you obviously got a taste for riding better winners, and and Malcolm was able to give me a few horses that were decent, and it was a shame that he got sick when he did, because we had a real good team at the time.
I know much has been made this week of you being the first northern-based jockey since John Joe O'Neill in 1980 to win the championship, and obviously it's a very significant achievement. You're already the 4th jockey in history to reach 200 winners. Do you scratch your head slightly at the whole north-south thing, given the fact that it's a very small country?
Well, it is. I was just saying to you earlier, like it probably takes me the same time to get here as it does to get to Perth.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it is. I mean, look, probably is racing more competitive in the south? Yeah, you'd have to say it is. But there's still some good trainers in the north, and good owners and good race courses and stuff. So like, I mean, we think we can compete as with the right ammunition. But yeah, there's a lot said about the north-south divide, but it's what it is.
And frankly, it's. I'm just wondering whether you think it's a little bit overplayed.
In this day and age, you'd probably say it is now, but I mean that's for other people to worry about.
And in your experience, are there trainers and stables and strongholds in the northern part of England and in Scotland that you feel are going to burgeon further and sort of get back to the days of the 80s when you had the Dickinsons and the Gordon Richards and whatnot?
Well, you'd hope so. I mean, obviously Donald's got a big team and he's trained the most winners of anyone this season. And you've Jacinda Russell there, who's she's done Grand National winners and obviously Grade 1 winners this year at Aintree. So I mean, there's a lot of trainers there that given the firepower they can, and the yards is only going to get bigger. So yeah, you'd have to say there is, and Nicky Richards has had a lot of good horses through his hands. If them people get the ammunition, they can win races with the best trainers.
And obviously, such is your ability and such is your record, and over 1,500 winners, it's perfectly understandable for people to say, well, hang on a minute, this guy's champion jockey, yet he doesn't have rides at Cheltenham and he's not riding in the Grand National. Is that more because that's the way you want to play it rather than necessarily how the game is playing you?
Well, yeah, I suppose really. Like, I mean, I've ridden in the National and ridden in Cheltenham, but I suppose get to the stage now where, like, I want to be going there competitive. I just don't want to be going there making up the numbers. So, if I had good rides at Cheltenham or an Aintree, I mean, I've had plenty of falls to the National, but the people I ride for just didn't have that top national horse because it's not very often you'll pick up a spare and win the National. Not this time. Not this day and age, because it's like you've got Gold Cup horses running in it now. So, and hopefully, if one of my trainers find one, I'd love to be competitive in them sort of races. But until that's the case, we just have to keep away from it.
But you don't have any kind of fear of missing out. You don't think, oh, I should be there. I should be at the Cheltenham Festival. I'm the champion jockey. I'm one of the best in my profession. I ought to be on that big stage.
I don't really look at myself in that light, but yeah, I'd love to be there, Nick. But I mean, we had meant to have a runner there this year, but obviously it rained a lot, and the owner and the trainer decided there was no point running the horse. So, but yeah, I'd love to be going there with fancied rides, but when you don't, there's not really much you can do about it.
And do you think? And that's going back to what I was saying about your relationship with Donald. I very much get the feeling with him that he's so thrilled to have reached his personal best, and it clearly means a massive amount to the whole yard. There was a lovely video the other day of them all giving him a soaking when he got to the 154th winner or whatever it was, and that he doesn't. He's had that Cheltenham Festival success. He knows what it takes. He doesn't want to go there with a bit like Paul Nicholls with horses who can't win.
Exactly. I mean, if he had the right horse, that's the first place he'd be. But until you stumble across that horse that can take you there, like as you just said, Paul Nicholls was light on runners there this year because he didn't have the horses he felt were competitive. So, but if, like I say, Donald buys a lot of horses year in, year out, so you just hope that one year he buys one that is that good.
You touched on something quite interesting there. I'm allowed to sit here and blow smoke in your direction because I can be immodest on your behalf, but you sort of rather bashfully said, well, I don't see myself like that. How can you operate at such an elite level and not see yourself like that? Isn't the whole key to being an elite sportsman that you have to think you're the best at what you do?
Well, you have to have self-belief, and I have massive self-belief, but I don't think, I genuinely don't think that I'm as good as Richard Johnson or AP McCoy, or ever will be, because for me, I have that respect for them that I believe that they were the people I've watched getting into this game, and I don't feel that I'm still I wouldn't be at their level. Genuinely, it's just the way I've been brought up.
Why? What
I don't know.
What could they do that you can't?
Well, they've ridden a lot more winners for me for a start, and when they've ridden all the championship race winners and national winners, and AP's ridden a national winner, and Dickie's ridden a lot of big winners. I just don't feel that I'm there yet. But
I would be careful here because I was going to say it's not all about numbers, but of course for you it is all about numbers. So but I was trying to think. Jorge Rivera and Russell Bays have ridden any more winners than any of the jockeys in North and South America, but they definitely weren't the best jockeys.
I suppose they're numbers, isn't it? But yeah, okay, it's just, I don't know, it's probably a weird way to look at it. People probably won't understand it, but it's just the way I feel about it, really.
Okay, so the bar that you're setting, so you're putting these guys, rightly or wrongly, on a pedestal to which you have to aspire to that. Is that fueling you? Is that giving you impetus?
Yeah, I suppose it is, really, because I suppose it gives me sort of the ambition to want to keep trying harder and harder, just to to keep matching them, because I think when you don't have something to not aim for, but as you say, fueling you, I don't know, like, you want to be giving it 110% every day. And if you didn't, or if you thought, oh, I'm here, I've reached, you know, I don't want to take my foot off the gas. I just want to keep my head down and keep thinking I'll work as hard as I can to get to that level.
So you are, I mean, some people are goal-orientated by nature, other people aren't goal-orientated. Those records, those numbers, the 1,500 and, what was it, 1,584, was it?
No, I think about nearly 1,550 maybe.
1,550 at 200 winners. But that stuff actually has an impact on you.
Yeah, I want to ride as many winners as I can, and I'll never get to the totals that Dickie and AP did, but I'd still like to aim to try and get as many as I can.
You're 36, which in jump jockey years in 2022 is not that old. I mean, 20 years ago you'd have been reaching
retired,
the end of your, yeah. Or 30 years ago you'd have been retired at 31, 32. Can you see beyond your life as a rider? Are you able to do that?
Not really. I suppose I mean, I don't know. Like, my dad always told me if I didn't make it riding horses, I wasn't qualified to do much else. So I don't know really, to be honest.
Good. His glass was half full then.
Yeah, well, he was probably right, really. But look, I mean, I'm just focused on now, really. I dare say I'll never train. I don't know if I'd get the same kick out of training a horse as I would a riding one.
You're interested in it, though, aren't you?
No.
I know. No, I mean, you're interested in the process. I'm not saying you want to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, actually, this summer, we're my wife and me setting up a little like not pre-training, but like sort of a rehab thing for horses. You know, for horses. And
so you are setting up a yard.
Yeah, but it's never ever with the intention of training. It's obviously Lucy's a school teacher, and she just obviously wants to work with horses more than the school teacher side of things. So that's what we're doing, but it'll never be with the intention of training, because I see the pressures the trainer's under, and I think when I get to this stage of retiring, I don't think I'd want more pressure. You know, obviously this job's been busy, and you know, up to that point I don't think I'd want to then put a noose around my neck again. I don't think. You
know how this goes, don't you? You build a yard.
Yeah.
Brian, you train a couple of pointers for me.
Not a chance.
On it. It's like the drug addict who says, "Oh, I just roll the odd joint. It's fine." you know how this goes.
Yeah, I can assure you that'll never go that far.
But would it be fair to say that you are as much a lover of the horse as you are of winning, and therefore they will always be part of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, everyone gets into this sport, yourself included, because of your love of the horse, and yeah. I like some horses more than I like some people, but yeah, it's everyone wants to win. No matter what you're doing, you want to be the best at what you do. But yeah, it's still I've still got the same appetite for it.
You've used that horses and people line before. And sometimes you give the impression that you're not particularly sociable or clubbable person. Is that the case or not?
Probably a bit shy and a bit awkward, really, in social things, and yeah, I don't do any form of social media or anything like that, because I just, I have my family and my friends, and I don't really feel like would like to reach out, because I don't know, I'm a shy person. I just like to keep my head down and do my job.
Well, I'm over-indexing because I've had you for half an hour already, and you're staying put there because we want to talk about the racing from yesterday. But for the moment, Brian Hughes, thank you very much.